Good afternoon, colleagues, once again. My name is Kosie Tuntuli. Colleagues, before we can move on, I would like to notify you or let you aware that this workshop is recorded for the purpose of keeping the record of this workshop, as well as to share the recording with all the colleagues who didn't make it today and those that attended who will request or want to access the recording at a later stage. The recording will be available on your respective model communities as well as the RCT management system. Colleagues, can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me? Oh, can you hear me?
Hi, Kosi. Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Now, thank you so much, Dr. David, for confirming that. As I've mentioned earlier, colleagues, my name is Kosietu. I'm from the Research Capacity Development Unit at the Postgraduate School. I would like to welcome each and every one of you for attending the workshop titled Introduction to Digital Tools for Academic Presentations, Tips for Supervisors and PDRF. So today's workshop is organized by the Research Capacity Development Unit, and we are grateful and we'd like to thank you, colleagues, for attending. Moreover, to our facilitator, Dr. Lorenzo David, thank you for taking your time. We look forward to today's presentation. Colleagues, I would just like to go through some housekeeping rules. As I've mentioned earlier, that this workshop is recorded. The resources of this workshop, which includes the presentation as well as the recording, will be posted or uploaded to your respective model communities as well as to the RCT management system. So if you are unable to access this platform, we kindly request you to email us on supervision course. We will then be able to assist you with the enrollment or assist you with registering to the RCT management system. Another announcement or a note that I would like to make, please make sure that you register for this workshop. You are registered using your correct name because recently we've been getting emails from colleagues who said like they received their certificate of attendance. However, there is a incorrect wording. So, colleagues, I would like to notify you or let you aware that we use the information that is provided on the report, attendance reports generated after the workshop. So we don't create names randomly. So we take the report of the workshop, and then we generate certificates based on that. So we ask you, colleagues, to register using your correct name and make sure that on your registration you fill on all the fields that are required during the registration period, so that when we generating certificates, all the necessary information, especially your staff or PDRF number, is included, as well as the correct name, surname, and the title is corrected and is included to your certificate of attendance. So if you didn't receive any certificate of attendance for the month of Feb and March, however, you did attend any of the workshop, kindly also email us an email on supervision course indicating your name, surname, and your staff number or PDRF number, as well as the name of the workshop that you have attended. Then we will generate a certificate of attendance for you. However, colleagues, going forward, you now have access to RCT management system, whereby you will be generating your own attendance of certificate online immediately after the workshop. After you have filled in the feedback evaluation, automatically the certificate will be generated. So we ask you to just sign in or register for the RCT management system. It's a platform which is available on your link under services, and then the last option is RCTMS. So with that being said, colleagues, just some other few housekeeping rules. Please make sure that your mic is muted when we are not speaking. However, if you do have a question, just type under the chat or just raise a hand, and I will notify Dr. Lorenzo David that someone has a hand raised, and then he will attend to your question or to your input. We encourage active engagement, so please just type under the chat your questions, your input, or just raise a hand, and then I will stop Dr. Lorenzo David at any time of the workshop. Now, colleagues, allow me to introduce our facilitator. Dr. Lorenzo David is currently a coordinator at the Research Capacity Development Unit, Postgraduate School, University of Johannesburg. Dr. David was recently awarded a PhD in biochemistry for his assessment of transferring tech gold, palladium, and gold palladium bimetallic nanoparticles and their potential for anti-cancer drug delivery at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. By adapting a holistic approach to education, Dr. Lorenzo hopes to inspire students to achieve personal and academic success with a hands-on and learner-centric approach to value-based learning. Colleagues, that was Dr. Lorenzo David. Dr. Lorenzo, thank you for joining us today. Just one more announcement, colleague. I'll be sharing a feedback evaluation on the chat. We kindly request you to take your 2 minutes and fill that feedback in. Your inputs or your feedback help us in terms of improving our services, as well as to give feedback to our facilitators for taking their time to facilitate our workshops. With that being said, thank you, colleagues, for joining, and thank you to our facilitator, Dr. Lorenzo David. You can proceed with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nkosi, and welcome to everyone. We'd like to welcome everyone to this presentation, and thank you once again for making the time to join us on this workshop. We hope that it's going to be something that's useful and that we can present some useful tips and tricks, as well as bring some applications to your attention, which really will make designing your presentations hopefully a lot easier. So if I can go ahead and share my screen quickly, then we can probably get started. Just give me a minute. Okay, Mr. Nkosi, are you able to see my screen? Is everyone able to see? Then I can switch to presenter mode.
Yes, Doc, we can
Okay.
see your screen, and also two colleagues, you can confirm if you can see the screen on your side, or Dr. Lorenzo David on your side.
Okay. So once again, we'd like to welcome everyone to this workshop on digital tools for academic presentations, tips for supervisors and PDR and postdocs, essentially. So in this presentation, we'd like to explore some of the various platforms which are available that can help you create more engaging as well as effective presentations. And this can be targeted for your research, for teaching, or even for conference needs. We understand that as academics, we often focus deeply on the content, and this sometimes allows us or creates a situation where we struggle with the actual design. And from personal experience, and I'm sure it can be the case for many of you, trying to create this impactful, engaging presentation while still obviously presenting your content, especially for those presentations which is data heavy, can pose a significant challenge. So one of the primary aims of this presentation is to hopefully introduce you to some tools. Some of them are free and some of them are paid for, which will help you to streamline this process by inputting obviously your data, your prompts, your notes, whatever it may be, as well as allowing this to generate these presentations in a way that is visually appealing, but yet still meets the criteria in terms of your individual presentation needs. So let's get started. So just to quickly go through the agenda. So obviously we're just going to introduce the topic, and then we're going to have an overview of some of the digital presentation tools. Then after, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into 5 of the key tools that we've identified, many of which I've actually used, some of them, let me rephrase that, many of which I've actually used myself. I have paid versions for rather, and I find them to be very effective in designing our presentations. We thereafter going to go through a comparison as well as how do we select the correct tool for a specific presentation and what do we mean by this. For example, if you are presenting for a conference as compared to teaching in a class, obviously your selection criteria or the tool you're going to use is going to be different. So hopefully we provide some insights in that and guide you along the process to choosing the correct tool for what your needs are specifically. And then lastly, we're going to go through some practical tips and tricks in terms of formulating these engaging presentations, and hopefully be something which many of us would benefit from. So first, I'd like to start off by discussing the evolving landscape of academic presentations. And I'm not going to spend too much of time on the background. I would like to go into more practical aspects. But I think it's always important for us to understand what are some of the limitations that we have in terms of academic presentations. So we understand that academic presentations can serve multiple purposes, and this can be from either teaching or conference talks to all the way up to thesis defense presentations, as well as when we applying for funding. So despite the importance, many researchers, many of us struggle with creating engaging, visually appealing presentations that are able to effectively communicate complex ideas. So the academic presentation landscape is rapidly evolving with many new digital tools available. Now, these digital tools actually incorporate AI as well as sites where they have templates available that we can populate as well as customize to our specific needs. And these obviously will be specific for research presentations. So these features can actually save us quite a bit of time. And we understand that instead of spending 5 or 6 hours trying to make our presentation more visually appealing, that time would actually be better spent tailoring our actual material for the presentation, allowing us to obviously create a more, let's say, impactful presentation in terms of the content that we have. So I think it's important for us to actually quickly go over what are some of the challenges that we have in terms of traditional methods of generating a presentation. And when I speak about traditional methods, I'm talking about the use of maybe something like Google Slides or PowerPoint. We understand that there's obviously time constraints in that in order for us to create these, fantastic presentations, it does take a lot of time because we have to create everything from scratch. Now, while there are some tools available within these programs in terms of the designer feature, it often create some issues in terms of our content. Maybe we'll have to scale down our content, or maybe it doesn't line up with our branding that we're using, or the colors, schemes, whatever it may be. So that can be an issue. The second one would be design limitations. So obviously we understand that when we're using these programs, there will be certain limitations in terms of how creative you can be. Now, certain people are absolutely fantastic at PowerPoint, and this is a skill that they've developed over many years. But let's just say us coming into this new, and we want to try and create these impactful presentations, but we also don't have the same experience, and we're limited on time. I think these tools will be able to assist us greatly. And the last one would be audience engagement. So if we look at maybe presentations when we were in undergrad, years ago, and if we look at our lectures presentations, generally they were text-based, or I'll speak from personal experience, they were very text-heavy because that was the point. The lecturer needed to provide as much detail as possible. Today, we understand that many students actually learn through different mediums, shall we say. So instead of having one slide which is completely just full of text, maybe an image would actually be better served in that place. And we can actually go through some examples of apps which can allow us to design unique diagrams which can be used for our presentations. If we look at academia as a whole, we understand that there is a push towards digitization, and obviously the incorporation of AI to assist researchers in streamlining their work. So we understand that we have to keep up with obviously this trajectory. We've seen that there's a rise of AI-assisted tools, and hopefully we will discuss these in further detail a bit later on. And I think one of the issues that many of us may have faced would be balancing content depth with presentation impact. Basically, balancing your content, and maybe if you have a text-heavy slide, with actually making it visually appealing. And I think that will actually take up the majority of many of our time. So we just got a short comparison here in terms of traditional versus digital tools. And I'll just leave this up on the screen for you to kind of browse through. And maybe, if there's any questions or discussion points at any point of the presentation, please feel free to jump in. So in terms of what we see on the screen, traditionally, we understand that academics have relied heavily on PowerPoint or Google Slides. And these are the two examples of traditional tools that we mentioned previously. Now, while these platforms are very familiar to many of us, they're reliable, they often require significant design skill as well as investment of our time. And we understand in the academic environment today, time is actually one of the most precious commodities that we have. So if we're able to, create our slides in terms of text, what we want to include in it, but have it automatically formatted for us, and we just have to go and simply tweak it, that would actually be a huge factor for us, allowing us to save much time over the course of the year, over the course of our careers. So the newer tools we'll discuss today, they incorporate generally AI assistance. And I understand that many of us would actually be quite nervous when it comes to using AI, but I would strongly suggest that we at least try it out because we're not using it to generate content. Let me just put a disclaimer in here. I'm not at any point advocating using these AI tools to generate the entire content of your presentation. What I'm saying is let's use it as a tool to assist with the formatting and making the presentations visually appealing, therefore saving us a lot of time. The newer tools, like we said, they do incorporate AI assistance. They allow us to streamline our workflows, and they have features which are specifically designed for collaborative academic environments. While we understand that each approach and each of these programs actually has its merit, at the end of the day, your choice might depend on your specific presentation context as well as what your personal preferences are going to be. What is your presentation style? That leads into the type of application that you would choose as well. So I'm just going to put all of these up here. So in terms of an overview of the digital presentation tools, we have identified 5 tools that we'd like to discuss today. Obviously, there are many more out there, but I found that these 5 have actually been, for me personally, the most impactful and allowed us to design good presentations. The first one we'd like to speak about is going to be Canva, and I think many of us would be familiar of Canva. So Canva is basically an application where they have thousands of templates which are actually uploaded into the library. Now, there's 2 versions available for Canva. You have the free version and the paid version. The free version allows you, let me just say this, both versions allow you to use the program as well as download your presentations, whatever it may be. However, when it comes to the paid versions, you have unlimited access to different types of templates. The good thing about Canva is that it allows you to download your presentation in different formats. So that can be in the actual PowerPoint, it can be in the form of images, it can be in the form of a PDF. So it just gives you that flexibility. The next one we'll speak about is going to be that which uses AI-powered content generation. When I mention content generation from now onwards until the end of the presentation, please understand that I'm not saying that we will just put in a prompt and ask it to generate the entire presentation for us. What we're going to do is input our own material into the program and ask it to format it in a way that is visually appealing while still actually meets all of our unique needs. The 2 examples that I've used previously would be SlideSpeak and Gamma. And to be honest, SlideSpeak is actually a fantastic application in terms of what it can do and the flexibility and how it allows you to customize your presentations as well. In terms of design automation, there's Beautiful.ai. And when we speak about non-linear presentation, that would be Prezi. So maybe some of us have actually attended presentations where you have a central scheme or maybe something like a mind map And as the presenter goes from one slide to the next, it actually zooms out and zooms into a different aspect. So when we mention about non-linear presentation, this is a linear presentation in terms of we go from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3. Non-linear basically means that we will have an overarching view of the presentation, and then we just zoom into particular aspects, and we will discuss that in greater detail a bit later on. So I think the first one I'd like to speak about is going to be Slide Speak. And like we said, this is actually an AI-powered presentation application for creating your presentations. Some key points here. We understand that it is AI-driven. It is an AI-driven presentation tool, which has actually gained a popularity. I've actually only found out about it this year. So I've put in since 2025, even after speaking to a few of my colleagues who have started using it. So it's designed to help, say, academics, professionals, educators, and researchers create stunning slides with minimal effort by automating the design as well as the formatting of your presentation, which we understand actually takes up the majority of our time. So the tool uses natural language processing, basically AI tools as well as machine learning to understand what exactly do you want? How do you want this presentation to be designed? Do you want it to be a balance of text and visually appealing? Do you want it to have only keywords to which you will speak to? Do you want it to have certain images? Do you want a certain theme? So it thereafter uses these prompts to actually generate a presentation based on specifically what you want. We understand that generally it will produce something which is very well structured in terms of your presentation content. Now, in terms of academics specifically, this can mean transforming our research notes or even our paper abstracts into a presentation format much more quickly than traditional methods. For example, us extracting material and pasting them on our slides, shall we say. Just one note that I would like to put here is that this is actually a paid version. You can use the free version. The only issue you will have there is that you will not be able to download the file. And I think there is a limitation. There's a number of presentations that you can do within a period. I think it's like 2 presentations a week or 2 presentations over a couple of days. So just something to think about. So we're going to go through some of the key features of this. We understand that it offers several powerful features which are able to benefit us as academics. We understand that its AI can generate a professional slide copy from your research notes or your bullet points. And this is something which, is actually fantastic, especially if you push for time. It automatically applies layouts, things like your colors, your fonts, as well as your visual appeal. And it is particularly useful if you are not design inclined like myself. So when it comes to designing presentations, I actually struggle quite a bit in terms of creating something which is visually appealing. And it takes me a long time to actually put a visually appealing, say, research presentation together. So with this, I noticed that I can actually spend a lot more time focusing on my content and trying to truly drive home the points that I need instead of actually using more time trying to make it look visually appealing. So when you go into the paid version, and this can actually be, I think the paid version is actually for the team as well, you get that option. Teams can actually edit slides simultaneously. So if you have let's just say a presentation for your research group with different research projects that are going on, every member of the team would be able to go onto the slide, onto the template, and update their section simultaneously, thereby saving time and allowing, obviously, the supervisor or even yourself as a postdoc to actually have an overarching view of this process. You can leave comments. They have version history, which is obviously excellent for collaborative research presentations. And we are also able to easily embed things such as our videos, our charts, or even live data to bring further information to our research. The advantage of this is that we are able to export it as PowerPoint, PDF, or Google Slides, and this is all done automatically with just a click of a button. So it makes your life much, much easier. And it allows compatibility with various presentation environments. Like we said previously, this is a paid service. So I think it's something $12 to $20 a month, if I'm not mistaken, but we can just go and check that a bit later. So, in terms of the advantages, like with many of these tools, we're going to say there's always going to be significant time savings in terms of creating these impactful presentations. We can also use AI suggestions to spark a new perspective on research presentation. Sometimes when we're working on let's just say a project for a very long time, it is always good to have, additional pair of eyes from maybe one of our colleagues, and even to get a bit of a different perspective from AI, maybe a suggestion that it comes up with would actually make you think about something different and obviously be able to incorporate a different perspective on your presentation. Some of the other advantages is that it allows you to maintain visual consistency across your departmental presentation. So you can create and upload a template and you can literally just populate that automatically with any notes that you have, and it will create the presentation for you. I don't know about many sitting in this presentation, in this workshop today, but blank slide anxiety is actually a real thing in terms of at the start of a presentation, it sometimes just takes that one line. It's also like when we're writing maybe a paper, that introductory line is actually sometimes takes you the longest. So in this case here, it gives you a foundation, shall we say, and you can just use this as the building blocks in terms of the format and the structure that you can go and customize to your own specific needs. And as well as it provides a learning resource for effective presentation structure. So if you don't want to obviously have the paid version, you can ask it to actually design a presentation based on a specific number of prompts, and you are able to share that link with, well, obviously yourself or anyone else. But what the good thing I found is that even if we don't have the paid version, and I've done this, we can use it for ideas in how to structure our presentation and make it visually appealing. So we use that as a template, and then we go manually into another program and basically create the presentation to mirror that of SlideSpeak. So it's completely up to us, basically how we want to use this program. So I must apologize firstly in terms of this presentation. It is going to be a lot of talking from my side, a lot of bringing some things to light. But if anyone would like to jump in at any time or have any questions or would like to see an example, we would be happy to actually come off this presenter mode and go into the actual website of the application and work on that as well. So we can't only speak about the good. Obviously, we have to speak about some of the limitations as well. And these are just some key points that we have to actually be cautious about. We understand that when you're using AI, the generated content sometimes needs to be refined, especially for specialized academic. If you have in your area specific terminology that you use, obviously anything that is AI modified, shall we say, we will always proofread and edit further. We just use that as a structure or a framework, and then we obviously customize and improve beyond that. We always say that AI is not there to replace us, but obviously it can be used as a tool to help us save time and just be more efficient in everything that we do. So some of the other limitations is that it's a newer platform and it does not have as many academic specific templates. So this could be an issue, but from the times that I've used it, I have not actually had any issues in terms of it generating a suitable template as well. As with any sort of AI tool, the effectiveness will depend on the quality of your input material, meaning that you have to be very specific in your instructions to the program in terms of what you are looking for. So, Nkosi, is there a question or someone's mic just unmuted?
Sorry, Doc, for that. Probably it was someone's mic. I don't see any question at the moment.
Okay. And just to bring to your attention, it may still require customization, especially if you want your presentation to be highly visual. So, however, the customization generally is not very labor intensive, if I can put it that way. And once again, with many of us who have played around with AI, we understand that it may not fully understand our complex theoretical frameworks. So we will always do our checks and balances to ensure that everything that is in the presentation actually aligns with our own domain knowledge as well. So we're going to go into the next example, which is called Beautiful AI, and this is a cloud-based AI presentation software. So this basically uses AI to automate slide design, and this is actually something which I think is very useful. Here you can actually put your slide notes. So even if you go and you create the content for each slide, you're able to copy and paste this into the program and tell it, you know what, make this visually appealing and within these specific parameters, and it will design it completely for you. So this is actually a fantastic application, and I will actually stop sharing this screen just to kind of show you, give you an example of what its potential is. Um, it's able to adjust elements for the perfect layout, so you have the ability to customize. It eliminates manual formatting headaches, and this can take up a lot of time, especially if you have a change in font or you want to create headings and subheadings of different sizes. It does everything for you automatically. It focuses your shift from designs and allows you to focus on the content once again, like many of these tools do. And it is aimed at researchers, professionals, academics who actually need polished presentations. Now, when we go into a research conference, the last thing we need to do is essentially worry about spending a few days trying to make this presentation actually visually appealing in terms of work and the content. If we can save that time, obviously that time can go into the content, and it will be to our advantage, shall we say. So let's go through some of the key features of this, and then I'm going to show you an example of what we're talking about, right? So AI-powered formatting, basically it'll automatically adjust the content placement, and this obviously will be in terms of the design that you've chosen. So if you've chosen an image to be on the right-hand side, it will adjust the content to actually be around the image while still improving the flow of the actual presentation. It makes it very visually appealing. There are smart templates which you can choose from, which are basically professional designs with academic options. In the paid version of this as well, you have customizable branding. So if you want to put in the branding maybe of your particular funder or obviously the University of Johannesburg, you are able to adjust the colors, fonts, and layouts according to those specific guidelines, create a branding template, and then any presentation that you use afterwards will automatically be adjusted to that branding. You are able to obviously also put in, let's just say, if we want to create a presentation with the University of Johannesburg branding. So as an example, we're going to Beautiful AI. We will create a branding template with all of the information. Shall we say the font can be Ubuntu, the color will be this specific shade of orange, the university logo will be there, the 20 years logo will be there. And every presentation that you do, we are able to customize that basically with or brand that presentation with the click of a button. Makes your life much easier. Once again, here, this has the option for team collaboration. So real-time editing and feedback, saving time, as well as a good interface in terms of your drag and drop functionality for beginners. It's quite user-friendly as well. So some of the advanced features we mentioned: brand control. In terms of analytics, you can track engagement metrics for your teaching presentations. They have multimedia support, like we mentioned on the slides. AI-powered suggestions, a tool which I found to be very useful, especially when you're having some issues, in terms of creativity. And once again, we have flexible export here in terms of you can export this presentation in the form of a PowerPoint, PDF, an image, whatever else it may be. We'll quickly go through some advantages for academics. So obviously, once again, time is something it's going to save up quite a lot on. Professional quality, it's going to ensure that your presentation is going to be consistent, as well as a peer professional. There's not going to be any issues in terms of structure, formatting, text, or whatever font, whatever else it may be. It will look very professional. Um, this is something that appeals to me specifically. There's no design skill required. It is actually perfect for research-focused academics who actually want to spend more time on your actual presentations, on your actual content, shall we say. So data visualization, you can easily create impactful research charts and graphs by inputting your data. And in terms of consistency, it manages and maintains a cohesive look across all of your departmental presentations, or if you're presenting on behalf of the university. And the last thing we'll speak on is some of the limitations, which would include in the paid version, obviously, customer support sometimes is a bit difficult to get through to them. In terms of specialized visualizations, you may have limitations for complex research data, but obviously this is to be expected. We can always input our graphs in there, but just have the actual slides itself actually being input. In terms of the learning curve, it can take some time to fully utilize AI capabilities. You have to have the internet and obviously template adaptability. Some academic content may not fit what is actually existing. So I'm going to stop sharing quickly and try and share a different screen if I can find it. Let's see if this is actually coming up. Okay, I hope that you are all able to see my screen. So essentially what I've done is just typed in beautiful AI. It pops up. Just have to wait a few seconds. So it does give you, obviously, the Pro is $12 a month, and we're not going to go into too much detail for that. Let's just go. Let's open up in a new window. It does allow you to test the actual application. So let's give it a few seconds to actually load up. Okay, so this gives you an example of how it will create your slide. So I'm going to do something from, let's just say my background. So I can say develop a slide. And obviously, if we decide to use this program, we will be inputting our own notes into it. But just to give an example how this works. So I can say develop a slide which highlights the highlights. Let's just do that. So it limits you there. You literally press.
Sorry, Doc.
Yep.
We can't see where you are at the moment. We can
Okay.
see I think it's a Google page.
Okay. Let me
Yes.
go and reshare. Okay, Kosi, are you guys able to see now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I've just copied the prompt, right, that I've typed in previously. So this is the landing page. You can choose to sign up, and obviously there's a paid version for it. I think for an individual, it's like $12 a month. That's just over 200 Rand a month, depending on the number of presentations that you're doing. So the prompt that I've put in here is develop a slide which highlights anti-cancer drug delivery techniques from traditional to modern approaches and make the slide visually appealing. And what we're going to do, give it a few seconds. We can see that automatically it will generate an image for you as well as format your slide. So if you input your own notes into this application, it will obviously format each of your slides for you, and then you can be more specific in terms of the branding that you want to use, in terms of structure, how text heavy you want it to be, etc. Stop sharing this. Go back to the presentation. There we go. Okay. We back in the presentation, Gosi?
Yes, Doc. We
Okay.
we are back to the presentation now.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
So,
Okay, something that we've spoken about in previous workshops as well is going to be Canva. And Canva is actually a versatile design platform with presentation tools. So basically what this is that it is a website that has a library of different templates. Many of us would actually be familiar with it. The good thing about Canva is that it has a free version as well as a paid version, but the free version allows you to do everything the paid version essentially can, right? I think with the exception of branding, if I'm not mistaken. The only well, one of the advantages of the paid version is that you have unlimited access to all of the templates, which basically that's one of the key features, right? So it is a graphic design platform and it has very good presentation features. You can choose. So if you are designing a flyer, if you are designing a presentation, if you are designing an invite, whatever it may be, Canva has the template which is present. It has an extensive template library with academic options. It is very user friendly. And basically, it has been designed for non-designers, if we can say. So you choose a template, you populate it with your particular information. If anyone would like, we can go through that at the end of the section or even at the end of the presentation. I can show you my version and how you can actually switch between templates as well. It is growing in popularity among academics, and basically it balances simplicity with your professional results. You can choose in terms of the template. In your input, do you want it to be you want to be minimal, a minimalist type of presentation? Do you want to be more visually appealing? Do you want to be more academic? And it makes life much easier. I think of all of these tools that we're going to speak on today, Canva is actually the cheapest. The free version works perfectly fine. You create an account and you shouldn't have an issue. If you go onto the free version and you can't find the specific template that you're looking for in terms of what your general presentations are, you can sign up for the paid version. I think it's like 100 Rand a month or 110 Rand a month, if I'm not mistaken. And it gives you access to everything. So once again, it allows you to download your presentation in different formats and makes your life much easier. So in some of the key features, it has a very extensive template library, drag and drop editor, meaning that when you choose a template, those elements are not fixed. So if you want the image to appear on the left-hand side instead of the right-hand side, or if you want your text box to appear in any other position, you're able to manipulate everything on the website before downloading. So it makes your life much easier. You have a brand kit, and this is something which is very useful, especially if you're doing presentations on behalf of, let's just say, the institution. So you can save institution colors, logos, and fonts, and all of your slides will be formatted to that particular branding kit. Once again, there's collaboration and there is a media library, meaning there's lots of images, icons, and graphics that you can use. One thing that I found to be quite useful is that if we pair up Canva with another AI content generator, if you're looking to create a particular image for a slide, you can just copy and paste that in and obviously manipulate the elements around that image. A good example, if you're from more of a scientific background, something like BioRender, which is an application that allows you to customize images based on your specific input. So if you have a particular protocol that you're working on in the lab and you want to create an image for it, BioRender will allow you to do that. And then you just copy and paste that image into your slides on Canva. Makes your life much easier. What are some of the advantages? We mentioned ease of use. So it has a very the interface is actually quite simple. Any of us can actually go through and be able to use it effectively. It creates visually appealing material. In terms of data visualization, there has a ability to create and input charts and graphs, especially for your data. Once again, multimedia supports in terms of they have a library in which you can integrate and use images from, and template variety. Now, this will be obviously depending on your specific input. In terms of some of the limitations, style versus content, what I've noticed is that in terms of Canva, you will have to play around with it a bit more in terms of your templates because the academic templates are more aligned towards being visual over dense content, like is mentioned in the slides. You can't really insert animations, so but this personally I've not used too much in terms of uh, animations for academic presentations, so that will be completely up to you. There will also be limited academic specific features, so it's not designed for research as compared to some of the tools that we've described previously, which actually can be adapted, and you aren't able to work on a collaborative project in the free version. So at this point, are there any questions or concerns or maybe even discussion points that anyone has? Please feel free to unmute your mic and join in. There's nothing, or you guys can just pop it in the chat box, and then Mr. Nkosi will let me know. So one of the last examples we're going to speak on is going to be Prezi, and this is an example of a non-linear presentation platform. Essentially, what the presentation that I'm doing now is linear in that it's going from slide to slide. A non-linear presentation platform essentially means, let's just put it into context. You are giving an update. You're doing an update presentation for your supervisor or maybe for your lab on the progress of your project to date. What you can do is that when you go into this type of presentation style, the first slide will actually be the overarching mind map, shall we say. So you will have like introduction, methods and materials, maybe challenges, successes, whatever it may be. And essentially it will zoom in and zoom out on each of those individual areas. So we can go through an example a bit later. It also allows you to create these spatial relationships between your concepts, and it just is much more visually appealing. But obviously, this is going to depend on the type of presentation that you're doing. If you're doing it for a class, it may not be as suitable, but if you're doing it for an update progress presentation, it actually works fantastically. So you can actually choose, and the advantage is that it offers both traditional as well as these non-linear options, which we're speaking about. So in terms of the key features, we mentioned the zooming interface. We will take you onto, let's just say, a website now where you can actually see how it works. In terms of spatial context, it shows relationships between different concepts. So if you are having a specific protocol that you want to present on, it will show you how each step leads into the next. That can be through the formation of a mind map and how they are linked to each other. So once again, you can convert these presentations into, or you can convert existing presentations into this format. It will track your audience engagement as well as has a presenter view, which is always useful in terms of notes and the next slide preview. So to go through some of the advantages, it allows you to show in terms of your framework how your particular concepts are linked towards each other. It, excuse me, also higher retention of complex information in terms of your audience engagement, because if we're moving through, let's just say if I'm giving a talk on a complex subject using this format, people can actually lose track of what I'm saying in terms of, because there's so much of content, but by adding some visual stimulus in there, we actually allow people to actually stay engaged for much longer. So then they got the advantage of big picture plus your details. So it zooms in between your overarching project as well as some of the finer details which actually contribute towards the project. We've got your non-linear discussion. It adapts to audience questions. And basically, it is something which we don't see very often and therefore will be a presentation that will actually stick in the mind of many users or many attendees as well. Some of the limitations include it is a steeper learning curve, potential for distraction in terms of this movement can actually, if we go too much into it, can actually be distracting and actually distract from the point of our presentation. Then they mention things like motion concerns, longer creation. It does take a bit of time, as well as some technical issues at conferences, depending on the type of laptop that they're going to be using, this may cause some issues as well. And I think the last one we're going to speak on is going to be Gamma. And this is once again an AI-powered web presentation platform. So this is a next generation AI-powered tool. And this basically represents a newer generation of AI-enhanced presentation tools. It allows users to create presentations using prompts as well as natural language, with the AI helping to generate the content and design. So if you have your lecture notes or if you have your lab notes, shall we say, or with your data, it can actually take all of that information, process it logically, and present it in the form of a presentation, which will actually save you a lot of time. We understand that this can be particularly valuable for academics who want to quickly convert either your research papers or your notes into a presentation format. And rather than traditional slides, Gamma creates web-like presentations that adapt to various screen sizes as well as your devices. And it offers a more modern approach to sharing research findings. So once again, an AI tool which allows us to improve our efficiency and save time. One of the advantages of this is obviously it's saving time, but once again, our input is going to be equally as important. So we will not use it. I would highly suggest and that we don't use it to create any content, but use it maybe to modify and properly lay out the content that we have received from maybe our research or literature review, whatever it may be. So if we look at some of the key features, AI content generation where needed. It can create slides or prompts or slides from prompts or documents, and I would lean towards the documents. It has a web-based format, so basically it will allow it to be presented well on any device. Interactive elements in terms of engaging data presentation. It allows you to share the links easily with your colleagues. So basically people can make changes if you allow them to, as well as multimedia support. So we've seen multimedia support throughout these few slides. And basically what this means, it has a library of videos, images, etc., that we can actually incorporate into our presentations. So again, some of the advantages would be efficiency in terms of time, device adaptability, interactive data, continuous updates. Basically, it allows you to post sharing of your edits, and it's an innovative format. Basically, it stands out from traditional presentations, and if we want to grab the listener's attention, then we can always use these formats as well. So what are some of the limitations in terms of that for academic users? This is something we'll actually identify in many AI-based tools, which would be AI knowledge gaps. So and we always say that when you're using AI, we use it as a tool to improve our efficiency, meaning that if you have a deep knowledge of the research area, you can input your notes, your points, whatever it may be, even your slide material into it, and ask it to generate slides and format the slides based to your specific prompts. However, it is your responsibility and our responsibility to go through the slides and make sure that everything that has been maybe rephrased or reworded or restructured actually aligns with what we understand from the specific area. Then we've got format compatibility. It might not integrate with traditional expectations in terms of your PowerPoint or Google Slides. Specialized visualizations, limited options for complex research data. That may be something we'll have to spend a bit of time on, but then we can create a template, which obviously can just be modified thereafter, especially if it's an ongoing update presentation. The learning curve is a bit more steep for this because obviously we're shifting to something from, let's just say, PowerPoint to something completely different. And once again, you need the internet, but I don't think that's really a limitation in the current day because many of us come to campus and we would have access to the internet here. So this was actually the heading should say basically comparison of the different websites and applications that we've spoken on. So we'll just leave this up on the screen for you. I'm not going to go through it too much, but you can see some of the advantages and disadvantages. And obviously, these ratings are based on my personal opinion. So please don't Please try them out for yourself and you can come up with your own conclusions. But this is just a guide in terms of each of the different aspects, ranging from AI content to design quality. Is it able to collaborate? What is the ease of use, as well as is it aligned more to academic focus? So for many of us, which would be academic focus and design quality, if we look at those, I would lean heavily towards SlideSpeak, as well as Canva, because due to the adaptability of what we're looking for. So in terms of tool selection, this is something I said we'll discuss briefly. So as well as knowing what tools are available, I think it's important for us to understand what type of tool would be suitable for a particular application. We understand that different academic contexts may call for different tools. Let's just say for teaching, as an example, right? Tools with engaging visuals and that which we can find in Canva, or interactive elements, let's just say, as it shows there from Prezi, might be the most effective at maintaining student attention. But let's shift that over to a conference. For a conference, we'll want to be more professional as well as being visually appealing. So in terms of conferences, how the presentation looks, how professional, how polished it is, actually plays a very important role. So in that case, then we will want to use beautiful.ai or even SlideSpeak. This may be the preferred option to actually produce a strong, create a strong impression. Then if we go on to a grant presentation, we want basically data visualization. If we want to represent some data from a preliminary study, whatever it may be, or any other content. In terms of the research team, SlideSpeak works well because of its collaboration features. And in terms of our thesis defense, for PhDs who are in the audience today, Beautiful AI and Gamma actually works quite nicely, but obviously we understand these are paid services as well. Okay, so many of us would know this already, but I thought it would be nice just to go through some universal tips in terms of academic presentations, just as a bit of a foundation. So when it comes to an academic presentation, we must always start with the audience and what is the aim or objective of this presentation. We need to define exactly what we want to achieve, obviously. If we are presenting to, let's just say, a first-year class as compared to an honors class, we are going to adjust the way in which the language that we're using, as well as the level of detail as well. So keep the audience in mind, as well as what the ultimate objective of the presentation is. In terms of structure, we remember that when we're giving a presentation, it is a one-way conversation. We are basically telling a story and we hopefully want the audience to follow along. So there should be a clear flow from one point into the next. And this allows us to effectively tell the story of our research. You know, there's many examples of many people who are absolutely fantastic researchers and, you know, they produce high quality work. But when it comes maybe to presenting, there's areas that we can work on. And that could sometimes be due to how we actually present the research. So always remember that what we're trying to do is actually tell a story, and that even follows through academic writing. We're trying to share the information that we've gathered and what we've actually investigated. So ensure that there's a clear flow between your presentation. It's always important that visuals should actually complement verbal content. And as I'm doing now, which is reading from the slide, they say, don't just read from your slides. Essentially, if you are able to input an image and maybe one or 2 points and talk around that, that would be much more effective, obviously, especially in a class setting as well. Then for many of us who may need to practice delivery many times, we can obviously work on the timing and the transitions. And then as we go through it, we will get better and better. And then we look at some of our supervisors who just are amazing at presenting, you know, it just comes so naturally to them. And the last point would be to always present complex data visually. If we think that maybe some of us, okay, I would say I got a comment throughout my honors and my masters that when I had, let's just say, a table and I knew the information was important, I would just try to make the table look nice, which doesn't really make sense. So what would be more effective is to convert that table into a graph, be it a bar graph, a pie chart, whatever it may be. So if you have complex data in terms of, let's just say, a large data set, or using triplicate values, whatever it may be. Try and present that in the form of an image or a graph, whatever it may be. It allows the information to be more digestible and meaningful. So if you have an image up on the screen, people can actually look at the image, start to work it out for themselves, and then listen to you at the same time. And by doing that, there's a greater retention of what you are saying as well. And then moving towards the end, we'll be done in a few minutes. In terms of time-saving strategies for academic presentations, we can always create a master template, especially for recurring presentation types. So if you're doing a progress presentation, if you're doing a conference presentation, you attend a few conferences a year, then you can just create a master template and populate thereafter and change maybe color schemes or branding, whatever it may be. We can develop modular content blocks which we can reuse. For example, if we've got timelines, if we've got images, if we've got timelines, if we've got protocols, if we've got processes, we can create, spend some time or use AI to help us to develop these content blocks, and we can just basically modify the text thereafter and maybe the icons, shall we say. It's always good if we are able to use AI assistance, and we're saying assistance here in terms of formatting for the initial drafts, and thereafter you use your own input to refine it further. Something I found to be quite useful is to build a personal slide library of effective visualization. So sometimes we'll listen to a presentation, maybe it's at a conference or maybe even something online, and the way in which the speaker has presented the information is just, to you it seems perfect. Take a screenshot of it and try and redesign it yourself or use AI to recreate that and create a library. So if you are under a lot of pressure and you need to produce a slide, just say within a couple of hours, you literally have the formats which have been saved and you can just copy and paste in your own presentation material into that. And the last one would be to set up brand kits with institutional colors and logos. And just as we said, this is generally for the paid versions of the programs that we've discussed throughout this presentation. So how do we go about making academic presentations engaging? So it's important for us to use one clear point per slide, and that obviously generally can be presented in the heading. So so read or the listener understands what exactly we're speaking about, and we just expand on it on that particular slide. Incorporate strategic questions or prompt audience thinking. Now, this is generally much more effective when we are in person. But we can always obviously incorporate it for online setting as well. We can always frame research with, excuse me, storytelling techniques. So there was a colleague of mine who actually they did their masters with me at UKZN, and then they actually got a scholarship. I think it was to go and study at the University of Delft. And so we kept in contact, and they would actually share with us what are some of the support that that university actually offered them in terms of writing, academic writing. And there was actually a series of videos that they had shared previously in which they actually are merging academic writing with effective storytelling, as well as I think it was something along the lines of drama and arts. So basically, we think generally academic writing needs to be, well, it does need to be formal. Obviously, the language used has to be specific, but that does not mean that it has to be monotone. We are able to incorporate different aspects, and the way in which they framed it was that our academic research and whatever we're doing, if we want to be more impactful, if we want to reach a wider audience, we need to tailor our language within the frameworks of being formal to be more effective and telling a better story. For example, highlighting the problem, the journey, the resolution, but trying to make it more engaging. In doing that, people will actually remember what we're saying a lot more. Then we've got the use of multimedia elements to explain complex concepts. And this would be the use of, let's just say, images, drafts, flowcharts, whatever it may be, because it's more digestible for the member of the audience instead of having an entire slide with, 50 points or 20 points or how many you can fill on it as well. And then the last point would be to create meaningful transitions between research components. So basically ensure that there is a proper flow between sections, that the audience can actually follow you, and there's, like we're saying, a logical flow between each of the sections. So in conclusion, I think it's important for you to choose tools that match your specific needs as well as your technical comfort. For some of us who are, not so comfortable in terms of these applications, maybe we can lean towards a certain type of application. And for those of us who may be a bit more comfortable, we may be brave enough to try something that requires a bit more technical prowess. Um, Digital tools can actually be used to enhance impact. And I think one of the key points of this presentation, if you take nothing else besides this, is that it will save you time. It definitely will save you time. And I have seen this many, many times. I've experienced it as well. If you input your presentation into some of these tools, it actually formats, even if you just ask it to format and make your own text more visually appealing, which is excellent, it will do it effectively, and then it requires minimal adjustment from you. So I hope that is something that some of us will actually try. Um, it's also important for us to start small with one tool, let's just say for a specific presentation context. I would suggest something like SlideSpeak or even Canva. Canva is a good one as well. We need to remember that content remains, that is our main priority, right? We want to ensure the content we're presenting is correct and true as well as effective, but we're trying to basically present it better in terms of visuals. And with anything, especially when it comes to AI, we must not forget that our own expertise and clarity are still the most critical factors. AI is unable to, obviously, AI does not have the power that each of your brains has. So obviously we understand this. So while we use it as a tool, we still have the final say, and our own judgment will actually be the determining factor in what makes a good presentation or separates a good presentation from a great presentation. So this is something for us to think about as well. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. I'd like to thank you all for your attention. If there's any questions or contributions or discussion points, points of improvement, whatever it may be, please feel free to pop it in the chat. Other than that, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll hand over back to Mr. Nkosi. Thank you, Nkosi.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. David, for such a very insightful presentation. Now, colleagues, it's time for the questions. If you do have a question, just type under the chat or just unmute your mic or raise a hand and then ask your questions. Dr. David, there is a question from Dr. Emile from the chat saying, aside from the text content, can you import visuals into the tool as well?
Okay, Dr. Schmidt, Dr. Emil Schmidt, can you please, I'm just trying to look back to which specific tool are you talking about? Because for the majority of them, you would be able to import your own visuals. So if you can give me an example of which specific tool you're talking about, and then I would be able to assist further. If we look at an example like SlideSpeak, most definitely you are able to import and change the images which are on that presentation. You can choose from their library, or you can actually take an image yourself, or you can search one on the web. In terms of Canva, most definitely you are able to modify as well. For some of the more AI-based tools, once you convert them to PowerPoint, you can thereafter convert the images. Let's just say if you want to overlay a new image on top of it, you're able to do that most definitely. So I hope that answers your question, Dr. Schmidt. But yeah.
Well, there's a follow-up from Dr. Smith again. I had no specific tool in mind, so thank you. Glad to hear that it is also possible. So that was a comment from Dr. Smith.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, so
can I ask mine, Doc? In terms of now creating a presentation or a slide,
yeah.
what is the ideal balance between text, images, and data on a slide?
Okay, so let's just look. The first thing we got to think about is what is the purpose of this specific slide? What is the purpose of this presentation? Who is your audience going to be? So personally, if I'm doing, let's just say, a presentation for research purposes, right? In terms of I am presenting my own research, what I would like to do is I would like to have keywords. That's just my personal preference. I would like to have keywords or maybe just a key sentence on that slide. And let's just say if I am presenting a result, I will put up an image. So to give you a bit of background, when I was presenting for my progress reports, if there was a specific protocol that I was using, instead of me actually listing each of the steps, I'd create a flowchart. So I would think personally try and lean towards keywords or key sentences on our slides. Sorry, I think
Sorry, Doc, for that
Yeah, no problem.
interruption.
Okay.
Uh,
I think it's
okay, I think someone was joining in and the mic
Yeah.
was on, so I don't
No.
think there was a question from that side.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so I would say, let's just say you're working on a slide, try and keep it to key points or maybe 2 to 3 sentences. And thereafter, you can supplement with either an image or let's just say a piece of data. So, like I said previously, if you have a data in the form of a table, what I would do personally is that I would have 2 or 3 key points which highlight the key findings from, let's just say, my graph, and then put the graph there, the in detail graph. Because what it allows you to do is you are highlighting what the key points are, but then the reader or the audience can actually look at the graph and come up with their own findings as well based on it. So that way it creates engagement, it keeps them engaged with your actual material for much longer. I would stay away when we're trying to make a slide visually appealing. We also don't want to add too many visuals to it. That's something that maybe for us to think about. So maybe an image and a graph with a bit of text, 2 to 3 lines would actually be sufficient for many of the types of academic presentations that we would be hoping for. And this is based on my opinion and some of the feedback that I've received from supervisors and people over the years. So hopefully something that will be useful, Mr. Nkosi.
Yes, thank you so much, Doc, for that. There is another question from Dr. Esther. Thanks for the insightful presentation. Can we do hands-on now using Canva?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I probably would want to say maybe if we can give it a few seconds while I go into the application. But if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat. I'd like to answer the questions first and then switch into to end off basically with using Canva, if that's okay with everyone. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat. But in the meantime, I will start opening up the application. Okay, so in the interest of time, let's do this. Okay, so for those of us who would be interested in Canva, I'll just go through it quickly with us now. So let's look at this, right? So we go to obviously Google search Canva login. Just keep in mind that I've already created an account, so I think it should actually take me straight to my dashboard. So what we can see here. Okay, so just to give you a bit of a rundown, okay, when you sign into Canva, basically you will have, let's just say you sign in with I signed in with my personal account because I use it for research presentations as well. So you will have obviously all of your details, your settings, everything you can do here. Then we go to, let's just say, create design. So once you click on create design, it asks you what exactly are you looking for in terms of, are you looking for a flyer? Are you looking for a poster, a presentation? And it goes on to like an Instagram post, resume, a document, logo, whatever, right? There's multiple options. And the one thing you'll notice about Canva is that its library is quite vast. So it may take you some time to actually scan through, as we can see here, all the different templates that they have, something which will be suitable for you, but it is very, very useful. So let's just say we want to come up with a presentation, right? So we'll click on the presentation, and then it gives you options. So in terms of your template, what do you want it to be? In terms of your layout, got it. So I can say match style to brand. Let's go through this way here. Let's start here. So in terms of template, let's just say, let's just say you search for research presentation, right? That's the theme of the presentation that you're going to present. Thereafter, we'll see these are all the templates that actually pop up, which would be, so let's just choose one that we like. Let's see if I can expand this. So there's got for thesis defense, research proposal, research presentation. There's one that looked nice somewhere down here. Let's see. If you want something a bit more attractive, you can use, something like this. I think this looks kind of professional. And then after, we can see that it shows you what the format of each of the slides are. So let's just say apply to all 15 pages. And basically, it has created the proposal for you. Now, you've gone on, you've selected your template, you search for your template, you've selected your unique template, and thereafter, what you can do is you can, let's just say here, you can edit every element within this as well. And then you can go to each of the different slides. You are also able to duplicate. I think this in here somewhere. Excuse me. You're able to duplicate a slide if you like that particular format. You are able to add animations to each of these slides, and it shows you how to do that. You are able to obviously edit your timing, your position. In terms of your branding color, let's just say I have selected this as my branding color. So thereafter, you can go and you can change the branding color either for all of them or for one particular slide if it's, let's just say, relating to a funder that you have. So let's just say we want to be green or want to be whatever, right? You have complete, you can make it completely custom, essentially. So essentially, you can go to design, you search for a particular type of presentation, you go through the list of all the library, you thereafter select. Once you select it, you are able to modify any aspect of this. You can change the background image. So with the Pro version, which is what I have here, you are able to edit the picture, which should pop up. You can either choose it from, let's go in here. In terms of the background, you can remove the background. You can generate an image using AI. If you have a particular picture, what you want to erase a particular element, you can use that. That's a magic eraser function. Then we've got different functions in terms of magic edit, grab text. You'll have to play around with it as well. Magic expand is actually quite nice because if you find an image which is high quality, but its size is, say it's much smaller and will not fit your entire screen, this will actually increase the size of the image while still maintaining the quality of the image as well. Then you have obviously things such as your filters, etc. So let's go here. Excuse me. In terms of elements, you can also, it's completely customizable in terms of tables, images, videos, charts, stickers. I'm not going to go on. We don't want to bore you guys. You can actually create a branding kit, and you can see what I've done here in terms of the heading, what format, what font it should be. In terms of the subheading, same thing. Create your branding kit here. You can actually upload particular material. So I've gone on and actually used another application to generate, let's just say, a QR code. and then I uploaded that into my library, and then I can go and insert that into my particular design as well. So are there any questions regarding Canva, this full version? Anyone has any questions or concerns?
Yes, Doc, there is a question on the chat, but it's not basically related to Canva. It's
Okay.
just a general towards the presentation. So a question from Dr. Michael. Thanks for the insightful presentation. We are currently facing a major challenge in academia when we use tools like Grammarly or Quillbot to edit our original human writing. The text
Yeah.
is often flagged as AI generated by AI detection software. How
Yes.
can we effectively address this troubling situation?
I think the best way would be, I need to be careful how I say this. See, many of us don't, and myself as well, up until I think it was last year, I did not understand that Grammarly actually now has its AI capability. So if you download it from UJ's, if they give you access from UJ's website, obviously we have access to Grammarly as well. So I think the way to navigate this is to keep text within your own writing. I know this sounds like counterintuitive. Why would we have Grammarly if we can't use it? But I would use Grammarly not to change my writing in terms of sentence structure and position. I would use it only for grammar in terms of full stops, colons, semicolons, whatever else, and just be a bit more, excuse me, just be a bit more cautious when we're using any of these tools. So you are right in saying that it is a major challenge in academia, but I think that we also don't want to rely too heavily on these tools in terms of creating the content for us. And the reason for that being is obviously it's going to stump our own development, if I can say. So use it as a tool to maybe review your work in terms of your grammar, but try to lean away from it actually adapting your sentences and the structure of your paragraph. Because the moment it does that, be it Grammarly or be it, let's say, ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever it may be, automatically will be picked up as AI generated. And the strange thing is that so I don't know if some of you would have noticed. Sometimes when you write text in your own words, let's just say you're trying to write it according to academic rules, or maybe you're even a general way that you write, which is quite formal. I've had instances where my own writing, which I know I wrote by myself, actually was flagged as being written by AI. So just to let you know that obviously these detectors are not 100% foolproof. So just to protect ourselves, ensure that everything you're writing is your own original work, and just use, let's just say, a tool for Grammarly, such as for your actual grammar, punctuation, etc. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Dr. Michael. Yeah, are there any more questions from any members of the audience?
Yes, please.
Dr. Tsandiwe, do you have a question? We can't hear you. Okay, I think that was probably a mistake. Colleagues, if you do have a question, just unmute your mic and ask, or alternatively type under the chat. Dr. David will attend to your question. Or if you do have any input to make or any contribution, you are more than welcome to do so. We'll see there is a comment from Dr. Esther. Okay, let me just. Thanks, Doc, for your responses to the questions. Oh, that was a comment from Dr. Esther. So I don't know if anyone has a question, colleague.
If they are, so what we can do, if anyone has any questions, or maybe if you're going through some of these programs and maybe you're having a bit of difficulty or you want a bit of further information regarding what would be suitable for your specific needs, I'm just going to pop my email in the chat box, right? You can send me, you can basically send me an email and I will hopefully be able to assist further with that. Or if I can't, I'll point you in the right direction. But like we said, these programs are very useful. They allow us to save a lot of time. And I hope that we will, as a university and as a community, start to actually use some of these, especially in terms of the design and the formatting. I think it will always be best for us to write out our presentations ourselves, especially when it comes to our research and that kind of thing. But in terms of getting assistance of making it more visual and the layout and the formatting, that is something we can use AI to basically make the process more efficient. But if there are no more questions, I'd just like to thank you all for attending, and I'll hand over back to Mr. Nkosi, who will run through um, he will run through the end of the session. I just see there's a question there. Do you know about Wova, a tool for presentations as well? No, to be honest, my experience with Wova has actually been in terms of conferencing, app developments, and so on. But I'd be very interested to actually find out more about it. So I'll actually do some research and see what I can find out, see if I can play around with the system a bit. And then, Dr. Esther, if you send me an email, then I can forward you anything that I find as well. But yeah, but thank you. Thanks, Nkosi. I'll hand over back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. David. Colleagues, Doc, before I let you go or just officially close the session, I have one more question. And in terms of using all these tools, and then how can we manage technical failures during a presentation, especially live presentations, when we are
Okay.
using unfamiliar tools?
Okay. So when you mean technical failure, you mean like the actual presentation not opening, or you mean the site
Yes.
actually not opening?
I
Huh.
mean the actual presentation. Let's say I was using a Canva. I created my
Yeah.
presentation
Mm-hmm.
using Canva, and
Mm-hmm.
now and then the slides decide otherwise during my
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just use Canva as an example, right? What I think we have to be a bit paranoid about it, especially if we're going through a research presentation. So what I would suggest is obviously simple stuff, right? Which we probably do already. You will download the presentation firstly, store it on your computer, email one to yourself, and have a hard copy if you're going to a research conference. The next thing is that while I am presenting, if I'm presenting from my own laptop, I will actually have the application open as well. So that will have the document that I can edit, but very often you'll see there's also a presenter mode on the actual application itself. So in terms of technical failures, it's the only two things that I can think about is to create duplicate copies. Always email it to yourself as well in case the copy, let's just say your laptop crashes or something is corrupted, you have another copy on your other email addresses. And if you're able to, you understand with these applications, many of them would have your online library, shall we say, of all of your projects. So keep that open as well if you're using your own laptop. In that case, if let's just say your presentation on your computer goes a bit weird for whatever reason, you can go into the application and present live from there. So hopefully that answers your question, Nkosi. But that's what I would do. That's what I do as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Doc. Yes, well answered. Thank you for your response. Colleagues, if you don't have any further questions, we can now officially close the session. But before we can close the session, I would just like to remind you that I've shared a feedback evaluation on the chat. We kindly request you colleagues to take your 2 minutes and fill that feedback in. It takes about 2 minutes and it helps us to to improve our service delivery, as well as to give feedback to our facilitators for taking their time. I see there is a question from the chat from Dr. Esther. Can we make these slides available to us? Absolutely. The slides are usually uploaded within the next 3 days on your model community. So if you are not registered to model community, kindly email us on supervision course, or alternatively, now we are moving out from a model community. So we have an RCT management system, which is the system whereby you will access all the upcoming workshops, previous workshop recording, as well as the presentation, and be able to generate the certificate of attendance immediately after the workshop, and then you can generate the certificate of attendance. So you log into your U-Link and then services, and then the last option is RCTMS. That is where you will find all the resources, including the presentation, the recordings of previous workshop, and be able to book prior for all the upcoming workshops to see a calendar of workshop and events that we are offering here at Research Capacity Development Unit. Also, to make a booking for consultation, the platform is there to offer that service. So we encourage you colleagues to register for that, because going forward, as from next month, if I'm not mistaken, we will be fully moving to the management system, whereby now all the workshop announcement you will be getting from that platform. And also, we will not be sending out certificates via email going forward. However, for the month of April, for all the workshops for April that you have attended, the certificate will be sent to you by next week, by end of next week. So colleagues, as I've mentioned earlier, if you didn't receive any of the certificates and you have attended the workshop between February and March, kindly send us an email with your full details. We require your title, student number or PDRF number or staff number, as well as the name of the workshop that you have attended. And then we will check on our report to see if you have attended that workshop, and we will generate a certificate for you. Going forward, those workshops that we had for this month, the certificate will be sent as from next week. By end of next week, all the certificate will be sent out. So that is why, colleagues, I was asking you to please register using your correct details to avoid the queries of saying you didn't receive a certificate or you received a certificate with the wrong details. So register using your correct details, and then we will send you a certificate of attendance. With that being said, colleagues, thank you so much for your attendance. And thank you to our facilitator, Dr. Lorenzo David. I don't know if you have any last word from your side, Dr. Lorenzo, before I can officially close the session.
No, not from my side, Nkosi. Just thank you for moderating the session, and thank you to everyone who's attended. We really appreciate your support at RC. So wishing you all a great day further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues, and thank you, Dr. Lorenzo David. Colleagues, we're looking forward to have you in our upcoming workshops. For next month, announcement will be shared, whereby you will be able to register for those workshops. Alternatively, as I've mentioned, just log into RCTMS. You will see all the upcoming workshops and be able to register for those workshops. Thank you, colleagues. Once again, you can have a great day further. Thank you. I am now officially ending the session.